Are you ready to become unrecognizable in 2026? I'm not talking about superficial changes or empty New Year's resolutions that you abandon by February. I'm talking about a transformation so deep that when you look in the mirror 12 months from now, you'll barely recognize the person staring back at you. And here's the most impressive part. The Stoic philosophers already had the complete map for this journey more than 2,000 years ago. They knew exactly how to turn an ordinary human being into someone extraordinary. And today, I'm going to reveal every secret of that process to you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson I'll share is so powerful, it has the potential to literally change everything in your life. But before we begin this transformative journey together, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content that could revolutionize the way you live. Hit the like button right now, because what you're about to discover isn't easy to find out there. And share this video with someone who also needs this transformation. Now answer me honestly. How many times have you promised yourself that you would change? How many Mondays did you wake up determined to start a new life, only to find yourself, a week later, exactly where you started? I know you recognize that feeling of frustration, that voice in your head telling you that you'll never make it, that you don't have enough discipline, that maybe you just weren't born to be exceptional. But let me tell you a secret that will blow your mind. You didn't fail because you're weak. You failed because you were using the wrong tools. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful emperor of Rome, a man who literally ruled the known world, wrote in his personal journal every single day. And do you know what he wrote? Not military orders or imperial decrees. He wrote reminders to himself about how to be a better person. The most powerful man on earth needed daily reminders of the principles that kept him on the right path. If Marcus Aurelius needed that kind of mental structure, imagine us. The difference is that he had a system, a philosophy of life that worked regardless of external circumstances. And that system is available to you right now. Let's start with the fundamental principle that will support your entire transformation in 2026. The dichotomy of control. Epictetus, who was once a slave before becoming one of the most influential philosophers in history, said something revolutionary. There are things that are under our control and things that are not. It sounds simple, almost obvious, right? But do you actually live by this principle? Think about how many hours you've wasted worrying about what people think of you, traffic, other people's behavior, the economy, or a past that can't be changed. All that energy poured into things completely outside your control, while the only things that truly matter, the things you can actually control, your thoughts, your actions, your reactions, are neglected. Here's the brutal truth no one wants to tell you. 90% of your suffering is self-inflicted. The world isn't against you. You're burning mental and emotional energy fighting battles you could never win. Imagine that you have a limited battery of energy every day. Every worry, every mental loop about things you can't control drains that battery. By the time you finally have a chance to work on what truly matters, your battery is empty. You're mentally exhausted without having produced anything of value. So here's your first practical exercise to start 2026 in an unrecognizable way. Grab a piece of paper right now. Seriously, pause the video if you need to, and divide it into 2 columns. In the first column, write down everything that's worrying or stressing you out at this moment. Be brutally honest. Put it all down. In the second column, next to each item, write whether it's under your control or not. Be strict with this evaluation. Is your boss in a bad mood? Not under your control. Your reaction to your boss's bad mood? Completely under your control. Is the market unstable? Out of your control. Your skills and your ability to adapt? Fully under your control. When you finish this exercise, something almost magical will happen. You'll realize that probably 80% of your worries fall into the out of my control column. And here's the liberating part. You have full permission to stop worrying about them. Not because you're irresponsible or avoiding reality, but because worrying about them is literally useless. It's like trying to empty the ocean with a bucket. You'll just exhaust yourself without achieving anything. Seneca, another giant of Stoicism, used to say that it's not because we have little time that we fail to do things, but because we waste so much time that it seems like we have little. Let that sink in. You don't need more time. You need to stop wasting the time you already have on useless worries and empty distractions. In 2026, you're going to learn the sacred art of saying no. No to opportunities that don't align with your goals. No to people who drain your energy. No to thoughts that don't serve you. But pay attention, I'm talking about something much deeper than surface-level productivity or time management hacks. I'm talking about a complete reorientation of your internal compass. The Stoics called this living in accordance with nature, in accordance with reason. And living according to reason means recognizing what's under your control and dedicating all your energy to it, while calmly accepting what isn't. Do you want to know why most people never truly change? Because they keep waiting for perfect circumstances. They say, I'll start when I have more money, when the timing is better, when I feel more motivated, when conditions are ideal. But here's the hard truth. Conditions will never be perfect, never. Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations while at war, dealing with plagues, political betrayal, and the deaths of people close to him. If he had waited for the perfect moment to work on himself, he would have done nothing. Greatness is not born from comfort, it's born from the decision to act despite imperfection. So stop waiting. Stop right now. The perfect moment to begin your transformation is this one. Not Monday, not next month, not after you finish that project. Now, today, this very moment. And the first action is mental. You will stop blaming circumstances and take total responsibility for your life. Total. No exceptions. Now that you understand the fundamental principle of control, let's dive into something even more transformative. The art of controlling your mind. Because here's the thing. You can have all the knowledge in the world. You can study every philosophy and every success strategy. But if you can't control your thoughts, you control absolutely nothing. And here's an uncomfortable truth that should wake you up. You're probably being controlled by your thoughts instead of controlling them. Your thoughts run your life, and you obey them like a loyal servant to a tyrannical master. The Stoics had a powerful exercise for this, and Epictetus articulated it better than anyone. He said that it's not events themselves that disturb people, but the way they interpret those events. Think about it. Two people can go through the exact same situation and have completely opposite reactions. One person loses their job and falls into deep depression, convinced their life is over. Another person loses the same job and sees it as an opportunity to start over, to find something better, to finally pursue that dream they've been putting off. Same situation, completely different interpretations, radically different outcomes. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. Which of these people do you want to be in 2026? The one who is a prisoner of circumstances, or the one who uses circumstances as a springboard for growth? And before you think I'm being naive or unrealistically optimistic, let me be clear. I'm not saying you should pretend bad things are good. I'm saying you need to recognize that you always have the power to choose how you respond. That power cannot be taken from you, not by your boss, not by the government, not by the economy, not by people who hurt you. No one controls your thoughts except you. So how do you actually do this in real life? How do you control your mind instead of being controlled by it? First, you need to develop what I call mental vigilance. Marcus Aurelius practiced this relentlessly. He constantly monitored his thoughts, questioned his reactions, and examined his judgments. He refused to let his mind run on autopilot, and you can't afford to either. Every time you feel a strong emotion, anger, fear, anxiety, jealousy, you need to pause and ask yourself, is this thought serving me? Is this interpretation of reality moving me closer to the person I want to become, or further away? Let me give you a concrete example. You're driving and someone cuts you off. Your automatic reaction is to get furious, yell, honk, let it ruin your entire morning. But here's the key. Between the event, someone cutting you off, and your reaction, there is a space. A tiny space, but an incredibly powerful one. In that space lives your freedom. In that space, you get to choose. You can choose to think. Maybe they're late. Maybe they're an inexperienced driver. Maybe they're having a terrible day. Or you can simply think, this isn't worth my peace of mind. I'm letting it go. Sounds simple. It is. But simple doesn't mean easy. The problem is that most people never train this muscle. They react instinctively, automatically, like animals. And then they complain that they can't control their emotions, that they're explosive, anxious, negative. But you weren't born this way. You trained yourself to be this way through years of unexamined automatic reactions. And here's the good news. If you trained yourself into this, you can retrain yourself into something better. You can become unrecognizable. Seneca had an exercise he called premeditation of adversity. Sounds pessimistic? Wait until you understand its power. He suggested regularly imagining the worst things that could happen, losing your job, losing your health, losing people you love. Not to be morbid, but to strip these possibilities of their power over you. When you've already faced the worst-case scenario in your mind, when you've already thought through how you would handle it, those fears lose their ability to paralyze you. You build mental resilience before you ever need it. So in 2026, you're going to apply this in a practical way. Once a week, set aside 15 minutes to imagine potential challenges ahead, not to worry, but to prepare. How would you respond if you lost your primary source of income? How would you act if an important relationship ended? How would you handle a major project failing? Then create a mental plan. Visualize your best self handling these situations with dignity, courage, and wisdom. You're essentially programming your mind for resilience. But there's something just as important that the Stoics practiced: negative visualization through gratitude. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that everything he had could be taken away at any moment. And instead of making him anxious, it made him deeply appreciative. He looked at his family knowing they were mortal. He embraced every sunrise knowing it could be his last. That's not morbid. That's wisdom. That's living fully awake instead of sleepwalking through life. Do you know how many people live as if they're immortal? They postpone important conversations. They postpone dreams. They postpone real connections with the people they love. And one day they wake up old, sick, or alone, realizing they wasted the only truly non-renewable resource they ever had: time. Don't be that person. In 2026, you're going to live each day as a temporary gift, because that's exactly what it is. You don't own time. You borrow it for unpredictable stretches you don't control. Epictetus, who personally experienced the total loss of freedom as a slave, said something revolutionary. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's wanting what you do. Let that sink in. Most people live in a mental prison, constantly wishing they were somewhere else, someone else, in different circumstances. They're never present, never satisfied, never at peace. They're slaves to endless desire. But you can free yourself. You can learn to find contentment regardless of external conditions. Not passive resignation, but active acceptance of what is, while working relentlessly on what can be changed. If you're still watching and this is resonating, if you feel something inside you waking up, type in the comments, "I choose control." I want to see who's truly committed to this transformation. And since you made it this far, hit the like button right now. It helps this message reach more people who need to hear it. Seriously, do it now. It's a small action that creates a big impact. Now let's talk about something that's probably sabotaging you every single day without you realizing it. Your expectations. The Stoics were masters at managing expectations, and this alone can radically improve your quality of life almost overnight. Most people live with unrealistic expectations and then suffer when reality doesn't meet them. They expect everyone to be fair. They expect life to be fair. They expect effort to always be rewarded proportionally. They expect good people to always win, and when they discover that the world doesn't work that way, they become bitter, cynical, and depressed. Have you ever stopped to think that the greatest successes of your life may have come from your biggest failures? That the strongest people you know probably endured the fiercest storms? The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that adversity is not your enemy, it's your teacher. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That idea is revolutionary. It means that the problem you're facing right now, the difficulty that feels impossible to overcome, the obstacle you think might break you, is actually exactly what you need to become who you're meant to be. You don't grow in spite of hardship, you grow because of it. Think about an athlete who wants to get strong. They don't get stronger by avoiding weight, they get stronger by lifting it. The heavier the resistance, the greater the muscle growth. The same logic applies to your life. The bigger the challenge you face and overcome, the stronger you become. The problem is that most people quit at the first sign of difficulty. At the first rejection, they stop trying. At the first failure, they retreat back to their comfort zone. And that's how people get stuck in a mediocre cycle, wanting more, but unwilling to pay the price. Because let's be honest, becoming unrecognizable in a year has a cost. You'll have to let go of habits that keep you stuck. You'll have to distance yourself from people who pull you down. You'll have to face your fears head on. You'll have to do uncomfortable things every single day. The real question is, are you willing to pay that price? Epictetus said something that should be written on the wall of everyone's bedroom. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. People will judge you. They'll say you've changed, that you're not the same anymore. And you know what? They're right. You're not the same. And that's exactly the point. When you start waking up early while everyone else is still asleep, they'll call you crazy. When you stop drinking and going out every weekend, they'll say you've become boring. When you start studying, growing, and chasing your goals, they'll say you're full of yourself. And that's the test. Will you go back to the herd because you're afraid of rejection? Or will you walk your own path regardless of what others think? The Stoics were masters at not caring about other people's opinions, not because they were arrogant, but because they understood that other people's opinions don't define who you are. If you live to please others, you'll die trying. There will always be someone unhappy, someone criticizing, someone trying to pull you down. That's part of the game. The question is, are you going to play their game or your own? Marcus Aurelius, as emperor, was constantly criticized, envied, and betrayed. He had the power to destroy anyone who spoke against him. But do you know what he did? Nothing. He simply didn't engage. He understood that words only have the power you give them. If someone insults you and you don't take offense, who wasted their time and energy? The person who insulted you. If someone tries to provoke you and you don't react, who looks foolish? The person who tried to provoke you. That is real power. Not the power to control others, but the power to not be controlled by them. And this is one of the greatest challenges in 2026, especially in the age of social media. Everyone wants validation, everyone wants likes, everyone wants recognition, and in the process, people are losing themselves. They're living fake lives to impress people they don't even know. Seneca warned about this more than 2,000 years ago. He said that we often care more about appearances than reality. We spend fortunes trying to look rich, work ourselves to exhaustion, to impress neighbors who barely know our names. It's madness, but it's the madness most people live by. If you want to be unrecognizable in 2026, you need to stop living for the audience and start living for yourself. You need to define your own standards of success based on your values, not the values society tries to impose on you. The Stoics called this living according to virtue, and for them, virtue meant living with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. Wisdom is knowing what truly matters and focusing on it. Courage is doing what needs to be done even when you're afraid. Justice is treating others with respect and doing your part in the world. Self-control is mastering yourself, not being a slave to your impulses and desires. If you develop these 4 virtues in 2026, you can be certain you'll be a completely different person by the end of the year. But let's be honest, developing these virtues isn't easy. We live in a world that encourages the opposite, a world that says, buy now, worry later, take the easy path. If it feels good, do it. Don't restrain yourself. Express yourself. The problem is that this mindset leads to self-destruction. It leads to debt, obesity, addiction, and mediocrity. The Stoics knew that true freedom comes from discipline. It sounds contradictory, but it isn't. The more disciplined you are, the freer you become. Financial discipline frees you from the anxiety of debt. Physical discipline frees you from bodily limitations. Emotional discipline frees you from unnecessary drama and suffering. Epictetus, who was a slave before becoming a philosopher, understood this better than anyone. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." He was physically chained, yet mentally freer than most people walking around today. Because freedom has nothing to do with external circumstances, it has everything to do with your inner state. So let me ask you, are you free? Or are you a slave to your habits, your fears, your insecurities, your procrastination, and other people's opinions? Because if you're enslaved by those things, it doesn't matter how much money you make or where you live, you're not free. You're trapped in an invisible prison, but a very real one. The good news is that you can break these chains. You can free yourself, but it requires a radical decision, total commitment. You can't be half stoic and half victim. You can't apply the principles only when it's convenient. Either you truly take control of your life, or you remain a hostage to circumstances. There is no middle ground. And look, Stoics were extremely practical people. They created daily exercises that anyone can do. I'm going to teach you 3 exercises that, if you practice them every day in 2026, will completely transform your life. Write this down because this is pure gold. First exercise, the Stoic Journal. Marcus Aurelius did this every single day. Every night before going to sleep, take a notebook and answer 3 questions. First, what did I do well today? Second, what could I have done better? Third, what did I learn today? That's it. Simple. But the consistency of this practice will give you an incredible level of self-awareness. You'll start noticing patterns, identifying weaknesses, and celebrating progress. After 6 months of doing this, you won't recognize the person you used to be. Second exercise, negative visualization. Every morning, take 5 minutes to imagine that you've lost everything: your health, your family, your job, your home. Sounds heavy? It's supposed to. Because when you do this, 2 things happen. First, you build mental resilience by preparing yourself for adversity. Second, you develop deep gratitude for everything you have right now. You stop complaining about trivial things and start appreciating the blessings already in your life. Third exercise, the Stoic pause. Whenever something irritates you, frustrates you, or makes you anxious, pause before reacting. Take 3 deep breaths. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Does this deserve my peace? Can I control this? Most of the time, the answers will show you that you're wasting energy on things that don't matter. This simple pause will save you from unnecessary arguments, impulsive decisions, and future regret. Now let's talk about something no one likes to hear, but that is absolutely essential. You need to face death. Relax. I'm not being morbid. The Stoics practice something called Memento Mori, which means remember that you will die, not to become depressed, but to live better. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Life is long enough if you know how to use it, But most people live as if they have unlimited time. They postpone dreams, postpone important conversations, postpone necessary changes. And then suddenly, time runs out, and regret shows up. Do you know the biggest regret people have on their deathbed? It's not that they didn't make more money or achieve more status. It's that they lived the life others expected of them instead of the life they wanted. That they wasted time on things that didn't matter. That they didn't say, "I love you" enough. That they didn't chase their dreams. And you, if you were to die tomorrow, how would you feel about the life you've lived so far? That's a hard question, but a necessary one. Because if the answer makes you uncomfortable, it means something needs to change. And it needs to change now, not tomorrow, not Monday, not after the holidays. Now. The Stoics didn't fear death because they lived fully. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He lived each day as if it were his last, not recklessly, but with purpose, virtue, and meaning. Here's a brutal truth. Most people aren't living. They're just existing. They're on autopilot, drifting through days without intention, direction, or purpose. Working jobs they hate to buy things they don't need to impress people who don't care. It's an empty, meaningless life. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can choose differently. You can wake up tomorrow and decide to live with purpose. Decide to make your work meaningful, or change your work. Decide to build real relationships or walk away from toxic ones. Decide to take care of your health or continue slowly destroying it. Epictetus taught that happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are under our control and others are not. Only when you truly internalize this, when you stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable, do you find real peace. So let's do a mental exercise right now. Think about everything that stresses you out, keeps you awake at night, makes you anxious. Now divide it into two mental columns, what's under my control and what's not. You'll realize that most things aren't under your control. The economy, politics, what people think of you, traffic, the weather, the past. But here's what you do control. Your thoughts right now, your actions today, your words in this moment, your choices moving forward. And that is more than enough power to completely change your life, because when you focus all your energy on what you can control, you become unstoppable. The Stoics believed you should treat each day as a miniature lifetime. You wake up, it's a new beginning. You go to sleep, it's a small ending. And between those 2 points, you have the chance to live virtuously, to do good, to grow. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday or how many times you failed before. Today is a new day, a new opportunity. Marcus Aurelius woke up every day knowing he could die that same day. He ruled an empire under constant threat of war, conspiracy, and disease. Yet he didn't live in fear. He lived with awareness. He knew every moment was precious, so he didn't waste them. He didn't procrastinate. He didn't get distracted by trivial nonsense. He didn't get pulled into unnecessary drama. And you, how are you using your moments? Are you building something meaningful, or are you just killing time? Are you investing in yourself, or quietly sabotaging yourself? Are you creating the life you want, or simply reacting to whatever shows up? Because time is passing, my friend. Every second you spend watching this video is a second you'll never get back. The question is it worth it? Is it changing you? Is it waking you up? The Stoics had a healthy obsession with time. Seneca wrote an entire essay about it called On the Shortness of Life, and the core message is powerful. People complain that life is short, but the truth is we waste most of it. We waste it on distractions, pointless worries, toxic relationships, soul-draining jobs, and empty entertainment that adds nothing to our lives. So here's a challenge for you in 2026. Do a brutal audit of your time. Take 1 week and write down everything you do, how much time you spend on each activity. Social media, TV, complaining, gossiping, worrying, add it all up. You'll be shocked by how much time you're throwing away. Then ask yourself the hard question: if I keep using my time like this, where will I be in 1 year? In 5 years? In 10? The answer will probably scare you. Because if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always gotten. There's no magic. There are no shortcuts. Real change comes from consistent action in the right direction, day after day, week after week, month after month. Is it boring? Yes. Is it hard? Absolutely. But does it work? Without a doubt. The Stoics were masters of consistency. They didn't rely on dramatic gestures. They focused on small daily actions that compounded into extraordinary results. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up one day as a great emperor and philosopher. He woke up every day and did the work. Seneca didn't become wealthy and wise overnight. He studied, worked, and disciplined himself for decades. Epictetus didn't free himself from mental slavery instantly. He practiced daily the principles he taught. And this is what you need to understand. Transformation is not an event, it's a process. It's not one big decision. It's 1,000 small decisions repeated consistently. You don't get in shape by going to the gym once. You get in shape by showing up for months. You don't become wealthy by making money once. You become wealthy by saving and investing consistently. You don't become wise by reading one book. You become wise by studying and applying knowledge over years. So when I say you can be unrecognizable in 1 year, I'm not promising some instant magical transformation. I'm saying that if you apply Stoic principles every single day for 365 days, by the end of that year, you'll look back and be stunned by how much you've changed. But it has to be every day. No exceptions, no excuses. Because here's the truth. The difference between successful people and frustrated people isn't talent, luck, or opportunity. It's consistency. Successful people do what needs to be done, even when they don't feel like it. Frustrated people only act when they're inspired, motivated, or when conditions are perfect. The Stoics called this doing the work, regardless of circumstances. Marcus Aurelius had to govern an empire in crisis, deal with betrayal, wars, and plagues. He could have said, "I'm not feeling inspired today, I'll deal with it later." But he didn't. He woke up and did what needed to be done, day after day, year after year. That's the mark of a true Stoic. And look, there will be days when you don't feel okay. Days when you'll want to quit. Days when everything goes wrong and you question whether it's worth continuing. Those are the days your character is tested. Those are the days you discover who you really are. Anyone can be disciplined when things are easy. The real test is when they're hard. Seneca said something profound. Hardships strengthen the mind just as labor strengthens the body. Every obstacle you overcome makes you stronger. Every challenge you face prepares you for bigger challenges. Every time you choose discipline over laziness, courage over fear, action over procrastination, you are building an unbreakable character. And when you reach the end of 2026, when you look back at everything you overcame, everything you built, everything you became, you'll understand something the Stoics always knew. The journey is the reward. It's not about the destination, it's about who you become along the way. Because here's the final secret most people miss. You don't seek transformation to impress anyone. You don't change to prove something to people who doubted you. You transform because that's what human beings are meant to do. It's your nature to grow, evolve, and improve. When you're not growing, you're decaying. There is no middle ground. Epictetus taught his students, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Don't talk about how you're going to change, just change. Don't announce your plans on social media looking for validation. Work in silence and let your results make the noise. The Stoics were humble and discreet. They didn't chase the spotlight. They chased excellence. And that's something we've lost in modern society. Everyone wants recognition before doing anything worthy of recognition. Everyone wants respect without having done anything respectable. Everyone wants the rewards without paying the price. But it doesn't work that way. You have to do the work first. You have to become the person who deserves the results you want. Marcus Aurelius had a powerful daily practice. Every morning he asked himself, "What is my duty today?" Not, "What do I feel like doing?" Not, "What would be comfortable?" But what is my duty as a human being, as a leader, as a parent, as a citizen? And then he did it, regardless of how he felt.